Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be working on advertising data. This dataset is a small sample of advertising spending across different mediums like TV, radio, and newspaper, and the resulting sales figure. It's a classic example used in marketing analytics. So, to begin the analysis, we can start by exploring the data and then work on some KPIs to drive some insights using this data. First, we will import libraries which we will be using in this notebook, and they are pandas, matplot, and seaborn. After importing this library, we will read the data using read CSV function. And after reading this data, we came to know that there are four important columns which we will be using and the additional columns which we need to drop, which is the index column. So let's first start with digging into the head of this data frame and then first drop this column unnamed, which is our indexed, and then let's just repeat this thing, copy header, and then after dropping the unnamed column. Now we have got four columns. First, let's see if there are any null values in this data frame, and there are no data or null values inside this data. Then let's check out the information and then describe function. So information tell us that there are four columns, all are float columns, and we have got 200 rows in it. The describe function tell us for each attribute or for each column that there are 200 rows. The mean is varies. The mean varies in all columns, and same goes for standard deviation, and as well as the minimum and maximum values inside that column. Now let's plot a block spot to check whether the specific columns, in this case our four columns, contain any outliers or not. So using this loop, we are plotting a box plot for each of the column, and we will get to know the spreadness of all the values. So this is the spreadness of TV, this is radio, this is newspaper, and this is sales. The spreadness of variable TV, radio, and sales shows no outliers, but variable newspaper does show a few outliers, but we will keep it as it is. Then we are plotting a scatter plot to check the correlation between each of the columns. And this is the correlation heat map. But first examine the scatter plot. So the scatter plots does give some information like there is no correlation between, there is no much correlation between radio and TV, but there is a high correlation between sales and TV, and sales and radio, and sales and newspaper, but TV won because it's perfectly, like, it's a positive correlation between these two as compared to other two. We will check the weightage as well in heat map, but this is the scatter plot of all the columns, and we can dig into each of them. The heat map gives the values to us. So sales is the winner, which gives us 78% highly correlation between sales and TV, then radio, and then newspaper. So if we compare TV, radio, and newspaper with sales, so TV won, then radio, and then newspaper. But for in this case, in this exercise, we are keeping all the four columns. We are not dropping any column. So the above scatter plot shows that there is a positive and probably high correlation between TV and sales. So this is the EDA part. Now we will jump towards some of the KPIs or insights to extract from this data. The first KPI which we will be digging in is return on investment or ROI for each medium, that is TV, radio, newspaper. So the ROI for each medium is calculated by dividing the sales value with the amount spent on each advertising medium. The values represent how much in sales revenue is generated for each or every unit of currency spent on advertising. So if we run this cell and then print each of the columns, we will get to know the ROI of TV, radio, and newspaper. So if we get or select any row and find out the insights of it, we will conclude that for each dollar spent, let's say on first row, on TV advertising, approximately 9.6 cents in sale are generated. For radio, it generates 58.5 cents in sales. And for newspaper, it generates around 31.9 cents in sales for every dollar spent. Same goes for all the values or all the 199 rows which we have. We can conclude this idea or this point. So that's how you calculate the ROI for each medium using this formula. Next we have attribute modeling. The coefficient obtained from multiple linear regression model represent the estimated impact of each advertising medium on sales, holding other variable constant, which means that for each spending which we are doing on sales, how the other mediums are performing. And to implement this or to achieve this, we are using multiple linear regression because this will give us the coefficient the coefficient as an outcome. So for linear regression, we are dividing the uh, mediums into into x, and then as a predictor for sales, we will keep this into y variable, and then we will just normally fit the data and find the coefficient of each of the medium. As soon as I run this cell, I will get the values TV coefficient 0.04, radio coefficient 0.18, and newspaper coefficient as minus 0.001, which means that TV coefficient in each unit increase on TV advertising spending results in an estimated increase of approximately zero point zero 0.04 units in sales. For radio, similarly, each unit increase in radio advertising spending results in an estimated increase of around 0.189 units in sales. And for newspaper, interestingly, an increase in newspaper advertising spending results in a minimal decrease of approximately minus 0.001 units in sale, suggesting it might not significantly contribute or may not have a good impact on sales. So these are the insights which we get from attribute modeling. Moving on, we are just plotting the ad spend on each medium, and this is the total TV spend ad, and it's showing the graph between the ad spend of TV and sales. Same goes for radio and sales and newspaper ad spend versus sales. The third attribute or the third KPI which we are working on is the customer segmentation. Now we are dividing our data into different segments or into two groups based on high and low ad spend, or in this case, TV, newspaper, and radio ad spend. So that's why I plotted each of the medium ad spend graphs. Now here, what we are doing is that we are creating two segments based on high and low TV for TV ad spend. And now we are dividing the highs, we are defining a variable high spend and low spend, and we are keeping the data frame TV greater than with with the data frame TV dot mean. So if a value of a TV particular raw TV column particular raw is greater than the mean of that column, it will go into the high span, and if it's low or less than equal to low, it will go into the low span. And then we are just simply printing out the high spending segment or the high TV spend segment customers and low TV spend customers. So as soon as we print it, we tend to know that 102 customers lie inside the high TV ads, and 98 customers goes into the low TV spend segment. And remember, we have got only 200 rows, and this is the mean of it, and this is the mean of 98 customers. Same we are doing with radio and newspaper. So let's run it, and we tend to know that there is a 50-50 ratio in radio, and there is a 88 compared to 112 on newspaper medium. Now let's draw some insights from this. So for high versus low spend segments, the segment shows a clear distinction in customer behavior based on their advertising spend. For instance, high TV spend versus low TV spend. Customer in the high TV spend segment mean of 17.48, which is this, shows high average sales compared to the low TV spend segment, which has a mean of 10.43. So the high TV spend segment display a larger spread of sales, maximum of 27, compared to low TV spend segment, maximum of 19.2. For radio, we are getting a mean of 16.61 versus 11.44, and we have got a 50-50 uh, percentage in radio between customers of high and low. So the spread of sales is wider in the high radio spend segment compared to the low radio spend segment. Same conclusions can be drawn for newspaper. So the interpretation which we get from this dataset and from these KPIs are: for ROI analysis, radio advertising seems to be the most effective in generating sales for the amount spent, followed by newspaper and then TV. The attribute modeling suggests that radio has a strong positive impact on sales, while TV also contribute positively but to a lesser extent. Newspaper doesn't seem to have much impact on sales. There is a visible trend where higher spending in each advertising medium generally correlates with higher average sales. Also, higher spend segments tend to have a wide range of sales values compared to low spend segments. Understanding these different customer segments allows for targeted marketing strategies. For instance, targeting higher spenders in specific mediums might yield higher return and eventually higher sales. So these are the results which we drawn from this dataset, which have only 200 rows. It could be extended further, but the idea was to do some analysis and to extract some insights from this dataset. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any queries, do let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Goodbye.